Okay, welcome to episode 75 of my 248k modded Factorio run on a ribbon world with a rail grid. This is the big bit of the rail grid, which is kind of out to the west of the main base, where we were last time. And last time we kind of did some of this looking stuff, and I said I would get around to figuring out how I wanted cracking to work. So we did that, and we also got some copper smelting, which is down here on the node. We've also got some red chips, and all these things are now built, and it took a while, and it's now time to go and plug them in and make sure that everything, like, make things run. We also fortified the power grid. The power grid is fine now. I don't think we're going to get to look at that this time, but I think we probably are going to turn the series into a kind of, hey, here's what I built, because it's taking a while, and there's still like a variety of design decisions to review and things to talk about, and like why things are set up the way they are. And so yeah, so this big slab of petrochem is 3 copies of a build that's kind of like this. Yeah, these 4, and these builds don't actually connect to each other. So we've got some regular vanilla advanced oil processing, we've got some regular vanilla coal liquefaction, because all we're doing with this big petrochem build is making a lot of gas to make plastic, to make red chips, and these recipes turned out pretty good for that, because I don't need kerosene for rocket fuel here, I don't need sulfur or acid or anything like that, and so the vanilla recipes that didn't give me, well, yeah, the vanilla recipes were the best options for not getting those things and just turning everything into gas, so we're doing that. Over here on the cracking side, pretty happy with how this eventually lined up. There's a lot more beacon space in the middle, and then where's, the build split is here, and the oils and the gases and things like that also don't go from one cracking build to the other. And then also, there's like a pump here where everything comes out, and a pump here where everything comes out. And yeah, pretty happy with how that. I think I've rejigged the middle of this between episodes as well to make everything fit a bit better, and it looks like there's quite a lot of space there at the moment, but there really isn't, because we're getting beacons in here as well, and so that made it kind of tricky to figure out how to connect like the oil on one side to the oil on the other side and squirrel everything through into the cracking build over here. So the water lines for everything and the steam line goes all the way back to like the common supply, and so does the inputs, but then the outputs are, there's like 3 different pipes giving us 3 pipes of gas out of this build, which is hopefully good for throughput, and then there's 3 different tanks with checking the heavy oil, so the coal liquefaction always has heavy oil to run, and then there's this kind of weird, this looks like 3 belts, it's 2 belts. Let's talk about this coal belt because it's kind of a big deal. So we've got, from places, eventually 2 belts of coal coming in here, and one of them sort of ducks in and serves 2 of the refineries per like copy of build, and then ducks out, and the other belt goes all the way down and then turns around at the top and comes back and does the other 2 refineries per build. And the idea of that is, hopefully this splitter is lane balanced, and it's lane balanced by usage rather than by any particular balance or enforcing or things like that. But that's the plan. So the stuff that's here will prioritize taking from the left-hand side of the belt, and then the stuff that's going all the way up to the top and coming back also prioritizes the left-hand side of this belt, but because it turns around at the top, it's actually the right-hand side of things going through the splitter. So coal lane balance is a thing we're going to talk about later, but that's why this thing is set up the way it is, to try and to attempt to lane balance the usage of this coal in the liquefaction. And then let's go and plug in some other things. There's coal to plug in, all these guys have got their stuff, then these mining drills which we're using for stone, for ceramics, don't have their drills yet because the drills are just here, but we haven't put logistics bots in the network because we need to break the network first. Fun thing that I noticed about the size of grid that I designed, purely by accident, this size of big rail grid happens to perfectly fit some number of fast underground belts at max extension, and also fit some number of blue underground belts at max extension. So that's A, kind of nice, B, kind of terrifying to go, hey, I've got a city block design, we're going to belt things through the middle of this. But never mind. Where's the next thing I need to plug in to make all of this work? Over here, we've got, yeah, this bit of rail that we need to plug in here, and that will put on the railed network these stations that are bringing the hot and cool lead from the Stellarotrons in the main base, and they will wander over here. And let's take the car. They will wander over here, deposit some lead in here. These heat exchangers will get all the lead they need. They're getting water from various lakes. This heat exchanger at the top sends steam over to the coal liquefaction build, which doesn't have coal at the moment, but never mind. And yeah, UPS concerns, there are no splitters anywhere here. Splitters are one of the things that I've heard are bad from UPS issues, and so we've kind of addressed this by just making sure all these belts are full. So these quarries, when they get their drills, will just fill a red belt with stone. We've got 8 red belts of stone. Yes, because 2 of them over here. So like there's 6 here. Where's the other 2? They're down here, just coming in here. So we've got 8 red belts of stone. We're turning those into 6 full belts of ceramics. And again, we don't actually care that... Like, we don't care which belt we use here, because we're planning on using all of them anyway. And then even when we get over to the red chips build, there's no splitters on these balancing the use across these. We just plan on using all of them, and maybe some of them back up, and it's fine. And why doesn't this one have... Oh, okay, fine. Everything is not set up. We actually have to move some of these pipes around. But that's fine. Okay, so some of these guys are... Yeah, we'll just... that one's going to be annoying. We can have one here. That one's good. That one's good. That one's okay. And then this here, like that much of that thing needed to move back. Okay, cool. Always check your builds are getting the materials they need to. They're still not getting stone, but all of these pipes we can see steam in now. So all of that setup is working. And where's the car? Car's over here. That also means that the liquefaction build should have... I didn't leave radars anywhere here, did I? The liquefaction build should have steam, but not coal. So let's go and see some coal. So these 2 blue belts are bringing in coal. And yeah, reasons why I'm setting stuff up between episodes and then talking about it later is this. I think there's a belt in here that's missing as well. Yeah, there's a couple of belts in here that's missing. But let's talk about why this train station is here of all things. So yeah, there was this coal patch that was kind of underneath the star engine. We've kind of left space in the mining to get... Where is it? It's over here? Yeah, there's a pipe over here with the stuff coming out of the star engine, so we can do blue chips or something over here. And yeah, all of this coal. Why is there a train station receiving coal next to where there is a coal mining thing? Well, the idea of this is all of this is about these red chips. This is a red chips build. We haven't seen it yet, but we're going to go and see it in a bit. And we put it in a place that was kind of next to some copper that we can use for coils, kind of between 2 things of coal, which we can use for plastic. Some of the things we are training in, but the idea is... this is still, how do I build a vast base with everything just on 1-4 trains? Where's the train station? Here. How do I build a vast base with just 1-4 trains? And the idea is we're going to put builds... First of all, we're going to do things like star engines to just summon resources where we need them. Second of all, we're going to do things like these mining drills to just get stone wherever we need to use stone, because all of this stuff can go anywhere. And the third thing is... We are going to do belt supply stuff. Can no longer, I guess we demonstrate the thing with the other thing. But the idea is this patch isn't actually enough stuff to fill 2 belts. And also, some of these miners are going to run out, and then there's going to be less, so I'm going to need a train supply somewhere to prop up this mining patch as it kind of dwindles. And the idea about doing that here is this guarantees that these belts here are full, which is good for UPS. Like if we've got a belt with some like gaps on it, then the game has to track where the gaps are and all that kind of faff, and those are all like each basically all of these gaps in here are things that are a bit of a pain to handle. Whereas my understanding is, do we even need this splitter? I don't think I need the splitter. I think we're going to get rid of the splitter. Yeah, my understanding is that solid continuous belts of resources are a thing that are easier for the game to process, because it just goes, all of this is basically one object. It's just a solid belt of resources. And so we've got a train station here, but then we've also got to carefully manage this coal input, because we've got to balance from train station. So let's have a look at how this is working. We've got all this coal arriving here. We are lane balancing all of the coal we get, which is a big deal. And we can see, yeah, here we can see that we really don't have all that much coal. There's quite a few gaps of coal. But this splitter here is the splitter through which all the mining of this patch passes, and yeah, is also by assumption lane balanced. And then because it's going through the splitter, we've got equal holes on both sides of this belt and also between these two belts, which means that okay, so these bottom two wagons are both unloading to the same belt, and these two wagons are unloading to the other belt. So it's not quite wagon balanced coming off the train, but the signals that the station is checking are from the wagon that will be unloaded last. So we'll still, like, if we signaled these boxes, then the train would arrive when these boxes were empty and these boxes would still be full. And I think this is okay. I think this also doesn't use all that many splitters. Make sure we've got full belts for the majority of the stuff we're transporting back to the red chips and coal liquefaction. Has a way of calling in more material from a train to prop up a dwindling mining patch. So all of that I'm pretty happy with. And then this is just kind of, you know, gross and yet another weird way of doing train. So we've got yet another train paradigm, he said, checking the minimap to see that it wasn't going to get hit by a train before driving the car away. Okay, so we've got coal in. I think we're going to, yeah, let's actually get in a car and go to the, not a car, let's get in a train to go to the other coal patch, because the other coal patch is kind of a way away. And yeah, it's down here, and this is doing the same thing. We've got another train station with a coal patch that probably doesn't mine 2 full belts, and then we're going to top up the coal from the mining patch at the station, yeah, with a station by the mining. And yeah, I don't think I need the splitter at all, because the assumption of this train station is that both of these belts are full anyway, and that is kind of guaranteed by this splitter here. And I'm pretty sure that back over here, yeah, I do have splitters making sure that there's an equal amount of coal going into the liquefaction, which is probably now blocked on everything. No, it's blocked on gas. That's interesting. Hopefully it's probably fine. So yeah, so let's go and plug the other things in, and then yeah, copper is the next thing we're going to go plug in. Yeah, then we also need to break the network, and then there's some more stuff we need to do. And yeah, same general approach for the copper here. We've got this copper station, which is going to bring copper ore from wherever, and we will have probably less than 4 belts of this stuff from this patch, and then we're doing a prioritization thing so that we make sure that these guys always get the ore they need. And this is a new smelting layout as well. I think we'll talk about that later. Oh, I've got to do this. I forgot that this was actually pretty important. This we need to be a train station that will receive water. Where is it? There. That one. We need this train station to receive a water train just kind of once. And this pump isn't powered. This pump will only take like most of a tank, but not a full tank. And then when that's delivered, we can delete this pump, delete this train station, power the other pump that will move all the water over to next to where the smelting is. And then this will do this like nice fixed loop of, yeah, we've got purifiers here. We've got a cleaning purifier doing ore processing, a purifier doing water cleaning, that's all kind of fine. Yeah, and then I calculated that, I think 4 belts, yeah, one belt worth of material, because I've got mining productivity 4, I need, what was it, 42.5 miners to fill a red belt, but then also because these have productivity uplift in the smelting and casting, I only need, I think it was something like 29.5 miners to guarantee enough material for a full red belt out. So that's yeah, I think we'll deal with it later. I think we're going to go and plug in some of the rest of the stuff, actually. The other thing we need to do was break the Roboport network. So here's the red chips build that we kind of saw some of last time. It doesn't have all its beacons in. I think I took some of the beacons out, but I think we can put them back. I was worried about the power grid stuff, and then we fixed the power grid, and so this is probably fine. And yeah, we've got this thing here is the red chips build we were looking at last time. The thing to do first, actually, is to connect these things in so trains can at least start to arrive with the stuff we want. And that should... Is that true? That's not true at all. The first thing we need to do is we definitely need to break these guys off the logistics network so that we can localize bots to just this spot. So these ones need to go, and that's also why this build has a lot of tier 1 roboports, because they don't extend, their construction range doesn't extend as far. And then why a bunch of charging stations, because we're going to have a lot of bot activity here, and the tier 1 roboports are not going to keep up. What else do we need to... Oh, there's one... Is there one over the other side? Yeah, we've got to get rid of this one over here as well. And this... Yeah, none of these networks have bots yet, which is kind of necessary. But... Do we have... Oh, we've got this water. Okay, so I guess we're running backwards and forwards and doing one thing and then another thing. Oh, well. Okay, so this station doesn't need to exist anymore. That doesn't need to exist. I don't have the right kind of poles, but I've got one of these poles, so that's fine. And now we can move this over here. And yeah. Are you done? Oh, we can just leave that in and come back to that later. But yeah, the copper is the same as the coal and the ceramics, and that we are belt feeding a large amount of it. And this should be reasonably UPS friendly as long as these belts are full, even if they're full and stationary. So yeah, let's have a look at this like completed red chips build. We've got 6 belts of ceramics coming in here. I think we're planning on being able to fully utilize 6 red belts of ceramics, which means we need to get 6 red belts of plastic, 6 red belts of electronic circuits, and then not quite 6 belts of copper, because we do have productivity in the coils, but we still need a lot of copper. And actually I should definitely give these guys bots, because we've got everything we need now. How many is that? 250? Let's go to 300, because why not? Actually, we don't have ceramics. In order to get ceramics, we need to run back over to one of these. Yeah, because this Roboport also doesn't have any bots. So you can have a lot of logistics bots, and then those logistics bots can take the drills over to the mining, and now we should eventually have ceramics turning up. And yeah, ceramics going to turn up on these belts. And yeah, I eventually decided that I was just gonna, like, given the ceramics are on belts anyway, we're just gonna like grab those from the belts, and we're gonna request plastic and chips from the bot network, which is now a different bot network to the rest of the base. These will leave disconnected until we've got some red chips in these boxes. But yeah, I was contemplating doing the same thing with the ceramics as the copper. The copper arrives on a belt and then goes into providers, because once I put... slightly the wrong place. Once I put all the beacons in here, it got really annoying to figure out how to get enough belts in here to bring in all the copper that I wanted, because there's also beacons in here, and when we get around to using all of them, in a lot of different places. Are these all lined up? This one here is also, yeah, some of these did that hurriedly, ended up with beacons in the wrong place. All these beacons should be hitting, yeah, they all should be hitting 6 red chips on the outside. 2 of the red chips just, but still counts. And so, yeah, so the issue here is, one of the issues is still, how do we make sure we get enough copper? Because when this build goes up to speed, I just said it needs more than 4 belts of copper, and we've only got 4 belts of copper here. I mean, in theory we have all 4 belts. So to deal with that, over here in this kind of chaos mall, and I think this little chaos supply is a thing we're going to do repeatedly for subsequent builds, is one of these is in fact a copper station with a little SR latch on it. Nasty cheap little SR latch. Okay, maybe not cheap. Also, yeah, one of the other things I realized is this layout here, if I've only got, like, I can have another station here. At one point I was toying with a coal build here. If I put this fuel on the other side, I could have up to 6 items turning up in this kind of nasty, like, chaos bot sorted kind of thing, which means in the red chips case I had enough for train fuel, which means we're supplying train fuel into this node as well. So also, rather than doing generic storage, we've got storage that's keyed to train fuel, and then, yeah, a bunch of active providers coming out of the station, and then some of these boxes are keyed to green chips, and then somewhere else, these ones are keyed to copper when we get copper delivered to the station. So train turns up here, bots move all of this stuff to boxes that are kind of close to the red chips build. We're also getting stuff off belts. Yeah, the other thing about the lane balancing coal is that I'm not actually sure that this is lane balanced on the plastic usage side, because the left-hand side of this is getting used more than the right-hand side, because the left-hand side is closer to the build, and that's what bots like. So because of that, these 2 belts are not being... Yeah, this is going to have implications for lane balance. Hopefully when it gets up to full speed, it'll be less of a big deal because we'll be using more coal, but for the moment, yeah. I think I was toying with the idea of having more plastic over here, but ended up with this sort of double-sided plastic thing just so that these beacons were hitting more stuff. And yeah, so we're requesting some green chips when we need green chips. They're connected to the logistics network. We're requesting train fuel so we can fuel all the trains. This copper station, as it turns out, checks star engines. What's that about? And it checks this box for star engine. So let's put a star engine in this box. This box is also a logistic filter for star engines. And this is how this nasty SRL... I've forgotten what it's called. Is it SR? Who cares? It's fine. People know what that thing is. So this train station will be available if there's a star engine in that chest. This is the chest SR latch. This is the chest that the train station is wired to. This inserter says if I've got more than 60,000 copper in the network, take that star engine out and put it on the ground, and then the star engine will just sit on the ground as an item. This inserter here says if I have less than 10,000 copper in the logistics network, put the star engine that's probably on the ground in this box. And then when that happens, this is an active provider box. This is the only storage that will accept the star engine, and so a bot is going to move it from here back to here. And that's how we SR latch this thing. We go up to 60,000, and then once we hit 60,000, we turn everything off, and we only turn it on again once we're less than 10,000. I was playing with like a belt version of this, and then figured, this is a bot build. By the time I've got bots building things, I should also get the bots involved in the SR latch. I could have also used like a locomotive or a train signal or anything that basically wasn't a red ship ingredient as the thing I was using for a signal, and figured a star engine is the most obscene grand version of that. So let's just flex on that for a bit. Yeah, three different lines of gas turning up at different places in the plastic build, so hopefully we can beacon all of this a lot harder and not run into fluid throughput issues. And yeah, also, yeah, other things to mention, the copper, there's a very large copper request here for all these coils in the middle, mostly because I haven't actually tested the long-term behavior of this SR latch station with 4 belts of stuff turning up on the side. And so the idea is, like, maybe, yeah, because this, to be honest, I mean, we're not even at full speed yet. So we're not using, I mean, we're probably not even using 4 belts of copper, so it's probably fine. But the concern is when we get up to full speed, I don't know how, like, in theory it works. In practice, there might be all kinds of race conditions and supply issues and stuff like that. So we're also just making sure that the copper coils have a lot of copper to play with. Is there... Oh yeah, I think there was one other thing I wanted to mention about this node, and its sort of general overall ratios, in that we're thinking about eventually scaling this whole thing. Do we have enough to bother putting a train here yet? Let's put some trains in. We're thinking about scaling this entire node up to the point of using 4... That's the wrong one. I want this train with the bits in it. Yeah, up to using 6 full belts of ceramics. And when it does that, it will also be using, 6 full belts of plastic, 6 full belts of green chips. I'm making a lot more green chips than that, especially given that, yeah, we've got one star engine here, which is a copy of this star engine, and okay, not really singular star engine, pair of star engines, are just making copper and iron for green chips. That's all they do. This is, yeah, we can see it from here. Yeah, this is another of these disjoint networks that does a little bot build for green chips, which I quite like this pattern, for getting a lot of beacons on a lot of assemblers. And yeah, there's a lot of green chips coming out. I think I calculated that. Yeah, so this bit here isn't, like, we can grow this, a little bit further this way, but the thing that really determines how much I'm, like, the main bottleneck is this heating unit over here. And this is not running at full speed yet because we're not fully tapping these green chips yet, but this thing, if I grow the rest of this manufacturing, this thing is the bottleneck which will limit me to, I think it was 14 blue belts of green chips, which is quite a lot. Like, I don't know if I've got enough bots. Okay, yeah, I've got enough bots for that. The bots are not particularly busy at the moment, and then all of these are also just full, so that's fine. But yeah, the number I wanted to mention here is 14 blue belts of green chips, and yeah, my general, like, hand-waving overall high-level ratio is that I'm usually putting, yeah, from vanilla, this is not a 248K thing, this is like a vanilla intuition, is that for all of my green chips, roughly half of my green chips end up as blue chips, which is why we've got green chips for, everything else, and then a whole different star engine that we're going to make green chips for blue chips, and then from the leftovers, from the other half, roughly 2/3 of those usually end up being red chips. But the thing is, we are rating this, he said, hand-waving without actually doing everything quickly yet, because these are not moving fast yet, are they? We are not at the point of fully utilizing this. How many beacons? We can have another couple of beacons, okay. We can have... We're going to slap some more beacons in there. These guys are going to go nice and fast. We're going to make a lot of red chips. Should be fine. Yeah, we are this whole node, even getting it air quotes up to speed, will only deal with 6 red belts of ceramics, which means it's also dealing with 6 red belts of electronic circuits, and that's not the 1/3 of green chips ratio that I just mentioned. So I think what we're doing is we're taking this entire build and we're copying it probably over here because we need water for ceramics. And there's some coal here. These are actually kind of a bit too close together for all of these things to be convenient. That could be a little bit annoying. But yeah, I think we are eventually just doubling this red chips build again, which will take us up to a total of 12 red belts of green chips of usage, which is, you know, about 2/3 of the 14 blue belts that we talked about. So that's probably what's going to happen next. And by next I mean probably not for a bit, because I mean hopefully we can at this point over the last hour see red chips jump. Didn't actually jump a whole lot, did it? We went from roughly 3.7 to like 6.3 or 6.2 or something. Okay, so I mean it's more, but also the thing we just need to do is get more beacons in here. That's going to be the main thing, and then power grid is, yeah, I think it was about, I think I had about 24 gigawatts of capacity last time. Okay, so that's more or less the red chips build. Do we want to, yeah, let's go and actually connect these guys up. I mean, there's no circuit conditions on this network at the moment. These are, like, these stations are just always available. Hopefully that's fine. Yeah, let's talk about this copper smelting again. Because we, oh yeah, there's other things we can get rid of. Yeah, because I spent, this thing over here, this new copper smelter is the thing I actually spent an amount of time in editor mode checking, not the tank, checking that it worked the way I wanted it to, because the deal, yeah, you can actually see the thing's really good at the moment. It wants to produce a full red belt out. So the first thing we're going to look at while they're still exhibiting this behavior is these inserters are kind of weird, but notice that there are occasionally holes in this blue belt which then by themselves decompress to just a full red belt, and so that's why this blue belt is here. It's to let these inserters unload faster because the copper moves away from the inserter faster on the blue belt, and then also make sure that these two inserters don't have race conditions, or I mean there's other things you can do like override the stack size or tie these things to circuit condition them to some kind of timer or some kind of stuff like that. That was all more complicated than I wanted to do. I was just let's have some blue belt on here, so any race conditions that result in tiny holes of copper supply, we can instead just have the difference in belt speeds deal with, and just get a full belt out. And the question is, well, do these things actually make exactly a full red belt of copper? And the answer to that is yes. And one of the things I was poking out in the editor mode is weird combinations of these beacons. Some of them are speed 3 beacons, some of them are speed 2 and 3 mixed beacons, and the idea is that this gets this building speed exactly to 2.1 for the furnace and the purifier, and then exactly 2.5 for the metal casters. So let's do a bit of quick brain math to be happy with 2.5 being a good crafting speed for a metal caster. So the metal casting recipe is usually 5 per second, and then we've got 2 modules of 10% productivity each. So 2.5 crafting speed here, 2 point crafting speed here, for a total of 5 crafting speed for copper. The recipe is 5 per second usually, so that's 25 out. Then we've got another 10%, which is 2.5, and another 10%, which is another 2.5. So overall, 25 from crafting speed, another 5 from 2 productivity bonuses, that's 30. That's these two with the productivity bonuses end up producing exactly the 30 copper per second I need to fill a red belt. And now some of these chests are filled, which is fine, so this is slowing down a bit, but that's why these are the speeds that they are. And then I don't think this one needs to be exactly 2.1. I think it's like 2.083 or something less interesting like that, but whatever. So Oh wait, we didn't actually give these trains schedules, but it's fine because they're not filled yet anyway. This is, I mean, I could track down one of the other trains, but we're not going to. We're just going to go have reds to please reds, and then empty and full, and also a little 5 seconds of time passed. Because, yeah, the have reds, we know we're fueling it here because we're bringing train fuel into this thing. So, do that. You guys just sit here until... Yeah, and so in the time that's passed, we've made slightly more than a train worth of red chips, and it's spread over 2 trains and they're not going anywhere yet, so that's fine. And that is the red chips build. We've got a bunch of beacons on it. We can put more beacons on it. Funny, yeah, running out of beacon capacity. That is a thing I am concerned about. I think, yeah, so let's check that this is all doing everything that it should, and we're full on gas, which is fine, and then a lot of these things are shutting down because we've got probably too much light oil or too much gas. Too much gas is fine. I was actually wondering about having some other tanks in here and pumping surplus gas to some other place, because I think by the time we add all the rest of the beacons through the middle of this thing, I think we're going to end up with more gas than we really need, but sure. Was there anything else I wanted to say about... I think that was everything I wanted to say about the red chips node, although I am now realizing that a thing that I wanted was actually... We are going to move these to the outside. You can have a bunch of stuff, because I actually wanted this thing here. Maybe even with... Yeah, let's grab this much of it, because I reckon we're not going to take train station names, but... And we also need to circuit condition all of these differently, which is a bit of a shame. These train fuel ones, I guess we're keeping as train fuel. But this is, yeah, this is a pattern that we are going to use a number of times in other places to do terrible things. Basically, we're going to do, let's go somewhere else and talk about other things I was thinking about while I was playing with playing with other patterns to try and figure out good ways to use tier 3 beacons, because the next thing we're going to do is a lot of tier 3 beacon stuff. Tech was a thing here. We're going to wander down here. These look like some empty tiles we can have some fun with. Let's talk about tech while we're doing a thing, because last time we ended with getting the uranium ammo, even though there's no biters to kill. What it was like, let's pretend that... Like, we've consoled off the biters because we're into mega-base territory, but let's pretend that combat is a thing we want to be prepared for, because that's what normally happens. And that finished, so we were doing some bot speed stuff, but mostly, the one we really want to do... I was doing bot speed stuff because it wasn't that important for the series. For the series, the important thing is getting into the last stage of the mod. So this is... With this exotic matter stage tech, we are into what the mod considers the, maybe not end game. These things down here, like the S lab and these elements are the end game. But I think getting this tech done is the indication that we are in the late game. And then there are... we want the modules, but there are a bunch of other just intermediates that we're going to queue up, because, intermediates are good. What does this take? This takes some cables, some acid, a new kind of cable, okay, that's fine, and then one of these things, and that's interesting. Is that a thing that we also just... It takes gas and a bunch of different things. This might be a thing we just lodge them all, rather than trying to figure out how to do this easily. Trying to do this with belts. I guess the other thing I need to do is figure out what these circuits are used for, to figure out whether or not I need to do this at high volume throughput for science, or just for infrastructure stuff. Because so far, all the fiberglass and all the carbon fiber has pretty much just been infrastructure stuff. But never mind, we're not even going to build that. We've got other things to build first. But let's line up some more techs. We've got plasma containers, which are... These things are actually super easy. I mean, for the base that we've already got, gold is pretty fine. Carbon fiber reinforced plastic, we're already putting on a train. Liquid lead heat coolant, we've got on a train, but this is doing the loop of heating that stuff. So we could put that by the magnetizing and laser data facility. That's going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to be much easier than these pink circuits. And then we've got this is, yeah, the extremely advanced upgrade gives us another stone quarry, which is fine. We don't really need it. The thing is, this upgrades from basic stone quarries. It doesn't upgrade the tier 3 quarries we already have. So there's nothing else to do with the tier 3 quarries other than, I guess, shelve them. But this is, what is these? Crafting speed 8, base productivity 400%. That is incredibly effective. Maybe, but not yet. And it's still like we'd be building new stone quarries as opposed to the ones we've already got. Okay, so that wasn't really the thing I wanted anyway. The thing I wanted was this one is another intermediate, I believe. And this is the plasma containers, which we just queued, which, yeah, we're going to build all these in the same place. Plasma containers, we can train some stuff in, liquid lead coolant, that's fine. Lead coolant we can deal with. Then this is magnets, which also need lead coolant stuff, which we're also doing next to the magnetizing laser data facility stuff. So that's all pretty straightforward. I mean, you know, in terms of things that could be difficult or more complicated. This bug zapper stuff, okay, fine. And then this compact fusion cell. It takes portable fusion reactors. That is a lot of blue chips. So we need to get the other Star Engine making green chips for blue chips to be able to do this, because this is, like, I hope I don't have to produce this at a decent rate for science. I mean, there's kind of the green science, this exotic science is the last of the science packs in this sequence, but all of where does it go? It comes off of this one. All of these all have, I mean, there are other kinds of science packs which mostly just take, yeah, red, some kind of science and some other stuff. And I hope I don't have to make the compact fusion cells for that, because that is a lot of blue chips to be making for one thing. But what we really wanted to do is, like, we'll go and build these things. These would be good. I think these are all reasonably short texts. Yeah, 10k, 10k. Much better than the ones we were just looking at, which were 100k, which we kind of chunked through to get to this exotic matter. The ones we really want are these modules. Have a look at these modules. 25% productivity. Okay, so 90% speed hit is a bit of an issue. 600% energy consumption. We'll fusion power grid that. That'll be fine. There probably aren't that many things that are worth 25% productivity, 90% speed hit. But we've got labs, probably blue chips, probably those pink chips, maybe even RCUs, definitely rocket launchers. We want to get productivity into these things more or less as fast as we can. So I think the next thing, this is also just a 10k tick, so that's nice. And then this is a 20k tick, and do they get larger U? Okay. 10, 20, 30. That's pretty fine. Yeah, so we still need modules. We need combined matter for these, and then there's also the geometric thing of we just need a lot of lower tier modules, and we don't currently have that many, and we're not producing that many. 6. Modules are usually 4, aren't they? So this is an even more harsh scaling of modules than usual, and we also need compact fusion cells. Okay, fine. Yeah, let's continue on this train. We are single player, so that was a pause. And yeah, because I was playing around with builds like, I didn't leave radars. I should have left a radar. Never mind. Do I have a radar over here? No, I have a Spidertron somewhere around here. Oh no, I have a radar. I guess we could kind of bunny hop some radars in here. We're just not going to bother though. Yeah, because I was looking at different ways of arranging, basically having a tier 3 beacon, and then having I don't have assemblers. Give me some assemblers. Putting buildings around these tier 3 beacons to try and get as much done as possible. And so we have so the green chips build is something like... Yeah, something like that. Oh, except that these ones have to be close together because we've got to fit substations in here because we've got like other... Oh, and it's this way, isn't it? You know, something, you know, this kind of layout, and then it tiles this way, and we get this nice kind of each of these things hitting... Is it something insane like 24 assemblers? But then each assembler being hit by, I think, only 3 beacons. And I was playing with some other patterns of this, and came up with some that were even more obscene. And that's if we start from more or less the same place of like one thing feeding into another thing. Actually, no, it wasn't that, was it? It was pure Logibot. If it was, yeah, it was inputs here, inputs there, and then if we have requests here and outputs here, then the other pattern that I was looking at is if we do like a lot of this stuff, then there are some positions... It wasn't there. It was spread this out even further. Like over here, and then... Yeah, roughly this layout. Because I can put a beacon here that hits 16 assemblers. And then also this beacon here will hit 16 assemblers. And then if we're doing this again, which spoilers we are, this beacon also hits 16 assemblers. But there's also a spot in here where these beacons will hit 16 assemblers. And we are at the end of the beacon limit. But this is a tiling layout, as I mean, it tiles in both directions, and we have put too many beacons on for this to work. But this is basically kind of a terrifying layout in the sense that, like, let's mark this assembler. Let's look at how many beacons hit this assembler, assuming we had beacon capacity, which we don't. But the beacon over here won't hit the assembler with speed modules in it, but this beacon will, these beacons do, these beacons also do. We've got 8 beacons hitting this assembler, and each of these beacons brings 3 beacons worth of effects. So this is a layout which, if we are logimalling a bunch of stuff, will hit 24 beacons hitting the same assembler, which is pretty good for like crafting speed limited recipes. So I think this is a pattern we're going to use for probably RCUs and probably module upgrades. We probably need all of that stuff kicking in. Then there was one that was even worse, which is, let's get rid of all of this stuff. And it was, if I do 2 of these here, then get rid of these ones and do this kind of thing. This is also still tiling, and due to the quite absurd ranges of these beacons, we're still hitting 12 assemblers per beacon. But now this assembler is being hit by all 16 beacons, which is, what, 48 beacons worth of effects into an assembler? I don't know that we're going to be able to use that much speed. I think we're going to end up with inserter bottlenecks at the input chests. Although I could actually, I can do this and then have these power poles here. And does this hit everything? It actually does. So maybe this is the pattern we go with for bulk stuff, because we can have 2 stack inserters dumping stuff into these into these assemblers, we can get 16 assemblers around, well, 16 beacons around each assembler, with each beacon hitting 12 assemblers, and this is moderately terrifying. Can I? I've already used too many beacons in other places. But yeah, I think we're going to do a pattern like this for. I mean, there's a couple of buildings that. Yeah, there's a couple of products for which this kind of beaconing might be worthwhile, and I'm looking at like RCUs. You know, these are massively craft time limited, and also don't require all that many things in. We just gotta, like, you know, boost the speed a ton. Also, all of the module upgrade stuff, because these also don't require all that many things. Yeah, don't take all that much stuff. Quite large craft times, and then getting into the. Where are the other modules? Over here. Yeah, these guys are also... Yeah, there's just like weird mishmash of stuff that's just going to be easier to Logibot request in. And we might even do this in the main mall, I think. So I think the current plan and things we will build... Are we going to build it later? I think we have to build... We have to build some part of this later, but we are going to look at, and probably not all of these yet. I mean, we don't actually have the beacon limits to build all of these yet. But the idea being, we'll have... Where's the... I just got a blueprint of... Yeah, where does this... Does this fit anywhere? Or... Because the thing is, I was thinking, I've just broken this grid in a bunch of places over here to put... yeah, not having radars, but to put little bot assembly networks of, like, local builds like this, which is fine. We've broken the big ribbon grid. Let's break the little ribbon grid. Let's have a bunch of RCUs over here. We'll build them on kind of this side of the base, because they're mostly made out of... Yeah, these RCUs are mostly made out of, you know, red and green and blue chips, and all of these things are being built... kind of on this side, so we'll do this on this side. In fact, we could actually put the RCUs in here or something. There might be better space for it. But we'll use one of these patterns. I'll figure out exactly how much crafting speed I want for this. And then currently, RCUs are... Where's the main... Here's the main mall? Yeah, we've got this RCU build down here, which is, you know, it's getting some stuff done. We've got crafting speed 3. That's kind of fine. We're getting what, each of these guys is getting 4 speed beacons worth of stuff. So, you know, that's fine. It's not 24 beacons worth of effects going into assembler, but that's fine. But that build, yeah, this one that I was looking at in the main base can go. I reckon all of this, yeah, we can just get rid of this thing. Maybe also the stone mining. The stone mining can kind of go anywhere, but if we get this out of the way, then I can do another of these nasty... Yeah, so many miners running out. We can put... Because this is currently in the main logistics network that is also being fed by the main chaos bus storage. And I think a thing I can do is use this space, because it's kind of right next to, because it's in the middle of the base. We can use that for another of these patterns to also do module upgrades, and then we can just Logi network all of those module upgrades in the same place. We can train in a bunch of RCUs. I think that's going to be probably fine. I'm going to get rid of most of this, because we don't need it yet. It's not actually doing anything. Yeah, and then I guess this we save for later. Sure, whatever. Yeah, because the other thing that I wanted to do, which is going to be another thing that happens in between episodes. I think this series is going to turn into a... Let's review builds and talk about design decisions in builds. I want to go somewhere over here. I haven't figured out where yet. Also, the train is pointing the wrong way, so we can't actually go anywhere. I guess we go to the other one. Where are the beacon builds? Where are the beacon cores? Here are some beacon cores. yeah, the issue we have at the moment, one of the issues we have, is we are right at the limit of how many beacons we can have. And so there's things like we can still use vanilla beacons, but they're just straight up not as good as the tier 3 beacons. We can find old builds, and I think one of the places where the old beacons are still trying to get stuff done and aren't as good are in these blue chips. And in fact, all of these blue chips builds can go because, okay, we've first of all got more than we need, but also we're just going to do blue chips at the other star engine. Fiddler's a lot of blue chips. Yeah, the other thing we can do is somewhere in here. Is it this one? It's not this one. Is it this one? Somewhere we can get to... Yeah, so we've got a tech that I think we started with the ability to have 100 beacons, and we've got a tech that allowed us to go to 250. Then there's another tech that allows us to go to, okay, let's just go to 500. That's fine, and it costs 3,000 cubes. And then there's another one that costs 6,000 cubes, which lets us have 500 supporter beacons, which is fine. But the thing is, we need a couple of thousand of these cubes. And the thing is, those cubes are kind of tough to get. We make them in the tier 3 beacon cores, which is what we're going to go and have a look at the moment. Yeah, they get made in this building here. Let's just run along the tracks without checking the thing. And in the time that we have been running this thing, it's made 1,000 of those, and it makes one per cycle. The cycle lasts 45 seconds. The only thing we can really do about that is build more of these cores. But the other thing that I was going to do is basically reorganize all of this, because this is done with this kind of old school thing of this is actually like the first train material receiving station that I built. We had one of these at the front of, where even would it be? It would have been, here's the starter base. Yeah, so I think we had one. Is it this one? It's not that one. There was one of those also here, or maybe here, feeding where the original smelt face used to be, which was somewhere around here, by our starting lake, all of which has since been repurposed for more power grid stuff, which is fine. But yeah, I reckon all of this stuff we can repurpose using this train station in a new place, that will do, first of all, not make green chips here. We can just bring green chips in. We can make these coils, we can make all the different things we need to make a lot of this energy in the same place, and we can have, instead of like 2 of these here and 2 of them, where's the other ones? They're over like here somewhere. Yeah, these can be literally anywhere, because they just broadcast their effects to anywhere else on the map. And also, because we have no more power grid, yeah, we bumped the power grid, quite a bit. These things taking 2 gigawatts each, we previously, before I bumped the power grid because I was worried about the red chips coming online, didn't really have the headroom to have more of these, but I think we can have 3 or maybe 4 of these now, because we've still got 2 of the tier 2 cores, maybe even 4 of the tier 3 cores would help us catch up with, like, how many of these red cubes do I have sitting around? So I've got about 3k there, and then there's also the stuff that's already in the chests, and then there's also productivity bonuses. So if I could get, yeah, that's kind of enough for the first expansion to, why are we not running? It's not exotic science. Purple science. Okay, purple science, fine. Yeah, we want more of these things, and we could even just put them like somewhere else. We could even go all the way, yeah, that's the new power grid, we'll have a look at that in a bit. We could move them all the way out here, because these cores don't need a lot of materials. and they don't need a lot of materials particularly quickly, and they don't need to be close to anything, which means we could just move them out of the way and do a giant logistic bot supply thing. So I think that's what we're going to do between episodes. We're going to figure out how to have like 4 of these things next to each other or something like that, and then train supply all of the things we need to make these fluids, centralize these beacons, and then I don't think I can beacon these guys, can I? Like, these guys don't take modules at all. And if I throw this thing here, it doesn't affect... Yeah, so we can't... It's not worth beaconing these providers. That's just not a thing that works. But yeah, those are the design constraints for the things we're going to look at in between. We're still not looking at any of the new intermediates we've got, but we do have a ton of red chips for which we didn't put a radar, but never mind. Yeah, we can redo RCUs and module upgrades with a pattern that's something like this, which is entirely Logibot supplied with a ton of beacons. We're not actually going to be able to afford the beacons at the moment because we don't have the beacon capacity, but we'll get the beacon capacity eventually by having a ton more beacons, which we will power with the quite vast power grid that we now have, which we will also talk about next time. So yeah, we didn't actually build anything this time. We just like talked about the things that we needed to get done. We clicked through some tech, and I think we can do the same next time. I will spend a while figuring out how to plug these things in, and then we'll come back and talk about it. And yeah, we are progressing. We are getting things done. We are into the exotic age, and yeah, lots of 248K stuff.